Hi class. Today we are looking at lesson 1 in chapter 3. How did early English settlers cooperate and clash with American Indians? Let's take a look at our timeline up here at the top. So in 1617, Jamestown is established. In 1612, John Rolfe introduces tobacco to the colony. In 1614, Pocahontas marries John Rolfe. In 1619, the House of Burgess meets for the first time. African slaves are brought to Jamestown. 1622, the Second Powhatan War begins. And in this picture here, it says settlers building Jamestown. England's first permanent colony in North America. After the failure of the Roanoke colony, England did not attempt another colony until Queen Elizabeth's successor, King James I, came to power. In 1606, he granted a group of merchants called the Virginia Company a charter to establish another colony. In December 1606, the Virginia Company sent 144 men and boys to establish the colony of Jamestown near the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay in what is now the state of Virginia. It was England's first permanent North American colony. Jamestown nearly failed from the start. The location was poorly chosen. The settlers wanted a place that they could easily defend. They also wanted a place with water deep enough to allow ships to anchor near the shore. What they did not consider, however, was that the land was swampy and the water from that part of the James River was salty and dangerous to drink. Ugh. Yeah, you don't want to drink salt water. Many of the colonists were not prepared for the challenges of Jamestown. Many came from the upper class and were interested in finding treasure. They had little experience or desire to do hard outdoor work such as building or farming. They did not plan to stay permanently, but wanted to find gold and return to England. Their participation did little to help. Also, the 7 men on the council selected to lead the colony were distrustful of one another and did not cooperate well. The poor conditions at Jamestown led to starvation and disease. After 2/3 of the colony had died, Captain John Smith took over as leader. He understood the importance of hard work, especially in a survival situation. He required every person to work 4 to 6 hours every day. According to some sources, he told the colonists, "Those who don't work don't eat." His firm leadership saved the colony, but its troubles weren't over yet. The Virginia Company continued to support the colony. It would send supply ships with food, tools, goods for trading, and additional settlers. These ships did not come often, however. The first supply arrived in January 1608. It carried about 100 new settlers. The second supply did not come until October of that year. It carried 70 new settlers, including the first 2 women of the colony, Martha Forrest and her maid, Anne Burris. It was also an all-male colony. Even after women began to arrive, the gender ratio remained skewed throughout most of the 17th century. This social structure posed significant challenges for a society that saw family as a main center of social order, economy, and survival. And here's a photograph here. It says, Jamestown men wore chest plates in battle. Let's take a look at our map really quick. Native peoples in the English, 1607. So here we have the larger United States right here, and this small area right here is what this map is showing. And these are the Native American group settlements here. Let's get back to our text. The starving time occurred when Captain John Smith left the colony in 1609, and it nearly collapsed. Tensions with the Powhatan Indians and lack of leadership caused the majority of the colonists to die of starvation and disease. When the group of settlers who had been shipwrecked in Bermuda reached Jamestown in May 1610, they found the colony in such poor condition that they considered abandoning it. They received news that more ships bringing supplies and people would be arriving, So they stayed and rebuilt the colony with the survivors. Among the shipwrecked settlers was John Rolfe, who would end up helping to save the colony. Then and now. Jamestown may have looked like this at its peak. Archaeologists study the remains of old Jamestown. As Jamestown colony grew, the original fort was eventually abandoned. Over time, the wood rotted away and the foundations became buried in mud. For a while, the location was forgotten. And archaeologist William Kelso eventually found the original location by studying writings left by the colonists. Kelso started the Jamestown Rediscovery Project in 1994. He and others began to uncover, study, and preserve the original fort. Visitors can now visit the site of Jamestown. Relations between the Powhatan and the colonist. In addition to being a salty swamp, the location of Jamestown was also in Powhatan territory. The Powhatan Confederacy was an alliance of about 30 tribes. They were led by Chief Wahun San Ukak, also called Chief Powhatan. He was an intelligent leader who had been successfully increasing the strength and territories of his people when the colonists arrived. Historians are not sure exactly how many tribes Chief Powhatan ruled, but he had thousands of warriors at his command. For the struggling Jamestown colony, the Powhatan could be much-needed allies or dangerous enemies. As an experienced soldier, Captain John Smith knew Jamestown could not survive a full-force attack from the Powhatan, so he wisely chose to avoid conflict as much as possible. He and Chief Powhatan respected one another. Although there were a few conflicts, the relationship was mostly peaceful, and the Jamestown colony was able to get food through trade with the Powhatan. Unfortunately, Smith was injured in a gunpowder accident. His injury forced him to return to England. Then, in 1618, Chief Powhatan died. Power passed to one of his brothers, who ruled briefly before passing the title again to another brother named Opunkankunaf. He was angry about the growth of the Jamestown colony into native lands, and he waged wars against the colony for the next several decades. And here we have a painting of colonists traded with the Powhatan for food. The real story of Pocahontas. The most famous story about Jamestown and the Powhatan is the story about how Chief Powhatan's daughter, Pocahontas, her real name was Mataoka. Pocahontas was her nickname and meant the playful one. According to legend, when she was around 13 years old, her father captured Captain John Smith and planned to execute him. Pocahontas saved Smith's life by convincing Powhatan to let him go. Historians are uncertain if these events happened at all. Captain Smith was known to exaggerate stories. Some historians suggest that the incident was not an attempted execution and that Smith misunderstood a ceremony, making him a sub-chief under Powhatan. What is more certain is that Pocahontas was curious and friendly towards the colonists. This improved relations between the two groups. She later married John Rolfe, a successful Jamestown farmer. This marriage brought peace between the settlers and the Powhatan, who had been growing more hostile since Captain Smith returned to England. Pocahontas died of illness in 1617 while visiting England with her husband. Here's a picture of Pocahontas, and here's a picture of, allegedly, when she saved John Smith's life. The legacy of the colony. In 1612, John Rolfe introduced tobacco to the colony. It grew well in Virginia and quickly became a cash crop. That means it's a crop that could be grown and sold for a lot of money. So it grew really well. So they made a lot of money growing it. The colony would grow in population and size due to the wealth gained from the new crop. Unfortunately, tobacco is hard on the soil and so the colonists needed more and more land to grow it. This caused conflicts with the Powhatan and was one of the reasons for the Powhatan Wars. The value of tobacco, however, made the colonies strong and the colonists wealthy enough to protect themselves. Tobacco required a lot of labor, so indentured servants were brought from England to work. Their employers paid for them to travel there, and the indentured servants worked under contract for 5 to 7 years until they repaid their debt. The colonists wanted even more expansion, however, and eventually began purchasing African slaves to work on tobacco farms. And here we have a picture of tobacco farming. This picture says slavery in the English colonies began in the early 1600s. This means that the cruel practice of slavery in North America has its roots in England's first permanent colony. The slave trade had already been established by other countries, and in 1619 a Dutch ship entered the port of Jamestown carrying African slaves. 20 of them were exchanged for food. Since slavery had not yet been established in the colony, these first Africans may have been treated more like indentured servants. Records at the time listed them as servants and not slaves. Some apparently gained their freedom after working a certain number of years. This situation would not last. As the contracts on indentured servants ended and the demand for tobacco and other crops grew, planters needed more workers. Some planters attempted to enslave American Indians since the relationship had become much worse after the departure of Captain John Smith and the death of Chief Powhatan. The American Indians knew the land well and had friends and family to help them, so attempts to enslave them were unsuccessful. African slaves, however, did not have the same networks of friends or family in the unfamiliar land of North America. Escaping was more difficult. By 1650, the number of slaves in the Virginia colony had grown to about 300. And this says, the House of Burgesses. Another important legacy of Jamestown was the first representative government set up by Europeans in the Americas. In 1619, the Virginia Company had the colonists establish their own government, the House of Burgesses. By this time, the Virginia colony had expanded into 11 settlements. Each was allowed to elect 2 representatives or burgesses to speak for them when the House met in Jamestown. Since most of the burgesses were wealthy white tobacco growers, one of their first laws was simply to settle the price of tobacco. The House of Burgesses had been around for only 5 years when King James took control of the colony from the Virginia Company. The company had been losing money, and the increasing attacks by the Powhatan, led by Chief I forget how to say his name. Well, anyways, that chief made King James think the colony needed more direct control. He sent royal governors to represent him leading the colony. Despite this, the House of Burgesses continued to meet every year. Even if the burgesses were no longer in control, they liked being able to discuss what needed to be done and to be united when dealing with the royal government. Jamestown remained the capital of the Virginia colony until 1699, after the State House burned down. By this time, many of the people had moved to other settlements, so they decided to rebuild in a better location. Williamsburg became the new capital, and Jamestown was eventually abandoned. All right, boys and girls, go ahead and reread any areas that you need to, or rewatch the video. And as always, we'll see you soon.